Today we're gonna have a closer look on red light therapy and why biohackers like Brian Johnson and even entrepreneurs like Dana White use red light therapy on a daily basis. You will also learn how to properly apply red light therapy, which dangers you may have to consider, and of course which products I recommend and use by myself. So let's get started. Welcome everyone to this video. My name is Marvin. I'm a health and performance coach for high performing individuals and top level entrepreneurs. And recently I've got a lot of questions about red light therapy. First of all, what is red light therapy and how it is affecting the body? Most people might be aware that natural sunlight is a rich source of the so-called UVB light, which can have numerous health benefits. For example, the vitamin D production. But what most people aren't aware of is the other source of radiation that the sun is offering us. And this is light from the red and the near infrared end of the spectrum. So here I can show you a graph where you can see that the sunlight delivers different wavelengths of light, such as ultraviolet light, which is responsible for vitamin D production and tanning, as well as visible light like blue, green, yellow, and also red light. And there's also non-visible infrared light. So the wavelength actually determines if the light is visible and which color the light has. For example, the human eye can see just wavelengths between 400 and 700 nanometers. Specifically, red light has a wavelength of 600 to 700 nanometers. All above is non-visible infrared light. And what's really interesting is that you can see the different components of sunlight throughout the day. For example, in the morning, when the sun rises, it's more at the red end of the spectrum. This is why the sunrise looks more red, yellow, and orange. During the day, so midday, somewhere in the noon, the light that we receive has the biggest part of blue light. And when the sun comes down in the evening, it turns more to red again. And this is also crucial for our circadian rhythm. So the light is actually telling the body which time and which part of the day is right now. While especially blue light increases cortisol and makes us more awake and alert, red light in comparison can have, especially when applied in the evening, a more calming effect. That's also why seeing a sunset can be really calming for the body and therefore enhance your sleep. But why does especially red light has so many benefits? Why not, for example, yellow light or green light? So the main difference is, while blue, green, yellow, and even ultraviolet light can't penetrate the skin deeply, red light and infrared light of course can. So to show you this, you can do an experiment I will show to you now by yourself, using your smartphone and using the flashlight of your smartphone. And I'm pretty sure that you did this experiment also before. So just turn on your flashlight. And then, for example, you can hold your finger right in the front right here. And as you can see, the finger turns to red. So that means right here, you can see it. So this is like a classical example how red light can penetrate the skin. So this is why the finger is not like blue, yellow, or green in that case. Just so don't cause confusion, if we continue throughout this video and I will talk about red light therapy, I will include both. So the visible red light and also the non-visible near infrared light. But also there's a minor difference between red light and near infrared light. And the main difference is that near infrared light can penetrate the skin and the tissue more deeply. And a good example for that, in the spa center where I used to go often, they have a room where you can do near infrared light therapy. So it's not visible, you don't see any lights, but if you sit in front of this, it warms the tissue. So after a few minutes, you sit in front of that and you feel that deep inside your tissue, the body temperature rises. And this is a classical example why near infrared light can penetrate the skin and the tissue more deeply than red light can. And that means that treatment with red light therapy can benefit the entire body because factors released from cells which receive red light promote proper function of other cells. And furthermore, blood cells can also absorb red light, so it will travel through the bloodstream and will end up benefit cells and all areas of the entire body. So let's talk about the benefits. Why do I use red light therapy on a daily basis? First of all is, of course, sleep optimization. So I've talked about the circadian rhythm and especially seeing different wavelengths of light during the day. For example, it's really important first thing in the morning and as early as possible to see really bright light, which is also including red light and near infrared light. This is the body signaling that the day starts and he has to secrete cortisol and so forth, sets up our circadian rhythm. But especially in the winter month, depending on the location where you live, it can be really difficult to see the sun first thing in the morning. Also, when you wake up really early. For me right now, I wake up between 5:30 and 6 a.m. in the morning and it's still dark outside. So it's like not possible for me to get inside the first 1 or 2 hours of the day, like real natural sunlight. And also even during the day it's really cloudy. And this is why I use in that case, especially red light to stimulate and also like to replace the sun first thing in the morning. I use it in form of a meditation. So that means first thing in the morning, I sit down in front of my red light panel and I just combine it with a meditation just for time purposes. But you can also combine it with other habits and routines. You can read a book. Some people read a book in front of that, but really that depends on the preference. But I like to do it first thing in the morning. As I mentioned, you can also use it at the end of the day. For some people, it can have a calming effect. For me personally, I like to do it first thing in the morning, but that's also personal preference. You can do it in the evening, but you can also do it both in the morning and in the evening to replace your sunrise and also replace your sunset when it comes to sleep optimization. One important note, red light won't increase vitamin D levels, so it can replace the sun just to an extent. To produce vitamin D, the body needs to receive UVB light, which it gets exclusively just from the sun. And that's why, especially in the winter months, I collect medical testings with my client, including measuring the vitamin D levels to make sure that the vitamin D levels are optimal throughout the winter. And of course, if necessary, we include vitamin D as a supplementation in the supplement protocols. Benefit number 2, it can boost your metabolism and therefore optimize your body to fat ratio. There's a really interesting study published in 2015. They tested the effect of infrared light on 64 obese women, randomly assigned into 2 groups. The first group performed exercise in form of an aerobic and resistance training 3 times per week. And the second group received the infrared light therapy as well, additional to the exercise protocol. So they placed it right after the training session, while the second group did not. And after 20 weeks, they found out that the second group, so the group which received the red light therapy after their training sessions, doubled the amount of fat that they lost. And they also had a greater increase in muscle mass compared to the placebo group. So the combination of red light and exercise can potentially enhance the results of various training and exercise protocols. Benefit number 3, really interesting, accelerated recovering from injuries. Red light therapy is known for being used to treat injuries, such as inflammatory injuries like Achilles tendonitis or even some joint or ligament inflammations. And the near infrared light seems to be perfect to increase the energy within the cells and therefore enhance and accelerate the healing processes. And studies showed clearly that it also can accelerate wound healing. In 2014, a group of scientists from Brazil conducted a scientific review of the effects of red light therapy on wound healing. They reviewed 68 studies and concluded infrared light is an effective therapy to promote healing of skin wounds. Benefit number 4, increased testosterone. One of the most important hormones, not just for men, also for women, when it comes to sexual health, to muscle growth, and even motivation and drive, is of course testosterone. Usually testosterone levels start to decline at the age of 35. But in our today's world, it gets disrupted by a lot of lifestyle factors, such as, for example, chemicals, food ingredients, as well as stress, electromagnetic fields, and of course, a lack of sleep. So it is no surprise that we see right now an epidemic of low testosterone in men around the world. There's a famous book from Shanna Swan where she explains and reveals that over the last decades, the sperm count of adult men decreased over 1% every single year. And forecasting with the same amount of decrease in sperm count, the Western world wouldn't be able to reproduce themselves in a few decades. But there's good news, red light therapy potentially can help. In 2013, a group of Korean researchers studied the impact of red light therapy and near-infrared therapy on testicles. In total, 30 rats were split into 3 groups, and the control group and 2 groups that were exposed to either red light therapy or near-infrared light. And after 5 days, untreated rats obviously, of course, had no increase in testosterone, but rats treated with one 30-minute treatment of red light therapy per day had significantly elevated testosterone levels. Important to know, the testicles are one of the few tissues of the body which function is hindered by warm and elevated temperatures. That's why the body's anatomy placed them outside in order to be cooler. So applying red light too close to the testicles on a regular basis can therefore hinder the function of the testicles, because raising their temperature is known to reduce testosterone and sperm count. So rule of thumb, it should be about 1 foot away from your holy zones. Benefit number 4, enhanced brain function. Nootropics, so-called smart drugs or brain drugs, so substances which should enhance our brain function and cognitive performance, have undergone a huge popularity in recent years. They are used to increase memory, focus, concentration, as well as creativity and mood. And the positive effects of red light therapy on brain function had been well studied till this day. So we can say that red light therapy can act as a nootropic as itself. There's a really interesting study. Researchers from Texas applied near-infrared light on a group on the forehead of volunteers and measured its effects on cognitive performance like attention, memory, and mood. And they noticed improvements in, for example, reaction time, memory, and increase in positive emotional states. Benefit number 5, it can prevent hair loss. Hair loss affects more than 50% of the population in any form. And about 40% of men will have noticeable hair loss at the age of 35. And every hair follicle is like a hair producing factory. So that means when one experiences some kind of hair loss, that means that this factory is shutting down. So if you could reactivate the factory, in theory, the hair loss should be reversible. It should be said that hair loss can have various reasons. It can have healthy reasons, like just high levels of DMT. But it can also have not so healthy reasons, for example, high levels or chronic stress. Because, of course, hair loss is not crucial and necessary for human reproduction. So when the body is under accumulated stress, maintaining hair growth is not the major priority. So can red light help regrow hair? Researchers from America and Hungary conducted a review in 2014 of studies involving the treatment of hair loss with red and near-infrared light therapy. The review reports that the method can stimulate hair growth in men and in women. And compared to most of the drugs which are used to treat hair loss, they have no negative side effects. Because a lot of medical drugs that are used to prevent or treat hair loss act into the endocrine system and oftentimes lower DMT levels, which can lead to massive side effects like a lower libido, also mood swings, and an increase in body fat because of the lowering testosterone levels. So red light therapy is a safe way to at least support the regrowth of the hair. This is why there exists also some really fancy devices like hats or caps that you can wear so that the red light is especially around your head, and these can be used when your primary focus is to prevent or to treat hair loss. So now to the biggest question. how to apply red light therapy, which is my exact protocol. So it is really important that during the red light therapy, as much parts of the body are included as possible. So that's the most important principle when applying red light therapy. So make sure that most of the parts of your body are unclothed and you sit or lay down about 1 foot away from your source of red light. So this is also why I wouldn't recommend to buy one of these really small red light lamps. So the bigger the red light panel, the better. Of course, I'm aware that a lot of these huge red light panels can be quite expensive. This is why I made the link to a product which is a little bit smaller and therefore not so expensive in the description down below. And of course, you can try this by yourself. And if you experience some benefits and want to reproduce it and want to enhance the benefits and the results, then you can switch to the bigger panel. And therefore, I also linked you a product in the description down below. Just make sure that if you buy a product, it includes both like red light therapy and infrared light therapy as well, so that you get the benefits from both of it. I use it for about 10 minutes per day. As I said, I combine it with some form of meditation or breathing technique. But as I said, you can also combine it with your kind of routine. You can read a book or you can do whatever you want during that. And it should be limited, for my opinion, to 20 minutes per day. You can also split that. You can do, for example, 10 minutes in the morning or 10 minutes in the evening. Split that to 2 different parts. Or of course, you can do a 20-minute session in front of the panel. And of course, as always, consistency is key. That means when you do it every single day over a period of time, you will have the most benefits out of it. Alright guys, that's it for today. I hope you liked that video. If you have some questions about red light therapy, hit it down in the comments below. And also, if you are an entrepreneur who wants to optimize their health and performance, and subscribe to that channel. That's it for today. See you soon.